On the news, CJN Ariwola bows out, says Supreme Court overburdened. Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, says 2025 budget will be based on needs assessment. And federal government increases passport procurement fees. Let's have you join us on the news on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Tamilore Akinkolie. Justice Olukayode Ariwola has officially retired as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN, calling for urgent measures to alleviate the burden on the Supreme Court. Speaking during a valedictory section held in his honor at the Supreme Court in Abuja, Justice Ariwola emphasized the need to reduce the number of cases reaching the Apex Court, many of which he argued should have been resolved at the Appellate Court level. The retiring CJN alerted that the overwhelming access to justice has contributed to significant delays in adjudication of cases, forcing litigants and lawyers to wait several years for decisions. He stressed that the right to a fair hearing can only be truly upheld if cases are heard promptly, and urged for an increase in the number of judicial officers to ensure timely adjudication of matters. Justice Ariwola's career has been marked by significant contributions to Nigeria's judiciary. Appointed the Justice of the Supreme Court in 2011, he previously served as the Justice of the Court of Appeal from 2005 to 2011, following the elevation from the Oyo State High Court. And to discuss the points raised by the former CJN Olukayode Ariwola, I am now being joined by legal practitioner Douglas Ubahanga. Thank you so much for your time. Now, what is your perspective on Justice Ariwola's call to reduce the number of cases that reach the Supreme Court? How feasible is this suggestion in the current judicial system?
That's a very good question. Right now, you see, in trying to understand what the retiring Chief Justice of Nigeria is talking about, it's important to understand the spectrum of the Nigerian judiciary. Nigerian judiciary, as it is now constituted, is made up of 37 different state courts, one federal high court, one national industrial court, and each of those states that have state high courts all have magistrate courts and customary courts all together running into thousands of courts. Now, every case that is instituted in any court in Nigeria has a leverage to get to the Supreme Court. As you know, Nigeria has only one Supreme Court, which is the Supreme Court of Nigeria, located in Abuja. That is why right now, if you were to have a case with the Supreme Court now, except it is an electoral matter, that is to say, it is a matter that concerns an election, the earliest date you are likely going to get will be around 2027 or 2028. So the retiring Honorable, the Chief Justice of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Justice Ariwola, actually has raised a very important point that have not been addressed. Now, to answer the second part of your question, that is, how feasible is that as it stands right now? It is actually not feasible because of the way the courts in Nigeria are constituted. Now, it is important for some matters to end at the Court of Appeal. This is because the Court of Appeal has at least about 17 to 18 judicial divisions. So because of that, you find that cases are more easily decided at the Court of Appeal than at the Supreme Court. Now, another suggestion that has been envisaged by federalists or subsidiary advocates is that each state in Nigeria should have their own Supreme Court. The problem we have with that arrangement is the fact that those Supreme Courts are likely going to go the way of the state independent electoral commissions. you find that elections are not taking place with the sex system. That is why you realize that the National Assembly is tinkering on amending the Constitution, either that the INEC will conduct local government elections, or there will be another body to conduct local government elections in Nigeria that should be a federal body. I want to tell you that in all courts in Nigeria, and I make good to say, that the court that you are likely going to get justice if a state government is involved in a matter is if that court is either a federal high court, a national industrial court, or a court in which the federal government has, that is being controlled by the federal judiciary. The way, recently, the Chief Justice of Nigeria succeeded in the case of Attorney General of the Federation and Attorney General of Abia State and 35 others to ensure that money standing to the credit of the local governments are paid directly to the local government councils.
All right,
now,
sorry to cut you short, Mr. Douglas.
Of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as per Section 1213.
Mr. Douglas, sorry to cut you short, but briefly, do you think introducing stricter guidelines on which cases can be appealed to the Supreme Court could help reduce the burden on the court?
Absolutely. That would actually help reducing the burden on the court. For example, before around 2015, I think, around that period, all state governors matters and all matter that concerns the gubernatorial election, that's the government election, and all matters that concerns senatorial elections and election into the assembly ended at the Court of Appeal. There was an amendment to the Constitution that now led to those matters now being heard by the Supreme Court. It is important for us to go to that period so that all matters that concerns elections other than elections into the office of the president or the vice president should only be determined by the Supreme Court. Now, I noticed that when those matters...
for your time. Legal practitioner Douglas Ubahanga, thank you so much for your time and thank you for lending in your thoughts. Meanwhile, in a bid to ensure efficient allocation of resources and drive national development, the Nigerian government has announced plans to prioritize essential projects and agencies in the 2025 budget. The Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, made this known during a one-day fact-finding tour of the government agencies under the State House, saying that the budget would be based on thorough needs assessment. Now, TV360 Joy Uche completes the story.
The tour by the Chief of Staff is the first of its kind under the current administration, which, according to him, underscored the resolve by the government to strengthen the institutions. Gbajabiamila further highlighted the administration's objective to ensure that funds allocated to agencies align with actual requirements, emphasizing the importance of prioritization given the country's limited resources. He stressed the importance of the agencies in driving President Tinubu's government's renewed hope agenda in the economic and development sectors.
We need to prioritize. We need to prioritize some of our agencies, and that's what this is all about. We get a lot of complaints, we get a lot of letters, we get a lot of correspondences, especially in the areas of budgeting as well. So whilst we try to balance the need to meet these people, these agencies at their point of challenge, we also need to balance that, a very delicate balance of that, with the cost of governance. And that's what this is about. It's a fact-finding mission, so to speak.
In separate interactions with heads and staff of the agencies, the Chief of Staff pledged the presidency would ensure better welfare and working conditions of staff within the agencies under the supervision of the State House.
This is a technological age that we're in, and we need agencies such as yours to key in to Mr. President's vision, which you're already doing, to put Nigeria amongst the Community of Nations in terms of advancements in our technology. I believe the sky's the limit. I believe we have what it takes as a country, not just the material resources, but more importantly, human resources and people who are sharp, smart young men and women in this country who can deliver in terms of advancing our technology.
On their part, while delivering progress reports, the heads of the agencies appealed for an increase in workforce and funds to improve productivity.
Your Excellency, I'm sure you've never received any complaint from Naseni of any internal crisis. I don't take this for granted, personally from my team. Since this administration started, we've moved from complete prototypes. Today we have 35 market-ready products, and in about 10 months, we've closed 44 projects and initiatives. And these are not just MOUs that we've signed, but are tangible things, that you could see and you feel.
We don't recover lost funds like EFCC, ICPC, but we save in the course of our activities. The figures for the 2023 and 2024, that is up to date, is being completed, and is to let the public know that the Bureau of Public Procurement is not sleeping.
In response, the Chief of Staff assured that measures will be put in place to address concerns related to staff remuneration, office accommodation, and other legitimate challenges faced by these agencies. Joy Uchejim, TV360, Lagos.
The Nigerian government has increased the fees for the procurement of Nigerian passport with effect from the 1st of September 2024. A statement by the spokesman of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Kenneth Udo, says the increment is part of the government's effort to maintain the quality and integrity of the Nigerian standard passport. It said that based on review, a 32-page passport booklet with 5 years validity, previously charged at 35,000 naira, will now be 50,000 naira only, while a 64-page passport booklet with 10 years validity, which was 70,000 naira, will be 100,000 naira only. The statement further adds that the fee remains unchanged for Nigerians in diaspora. Meanwhile, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Eniken Lokpobiri, has insisted that the country produced 1.7 million barrels of crude oil daily, including condensate, in the past year. Lokpobiri added that the figures presented by the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, did not capture condensate. The minister made this disclosure during a keynote speech at an energy summit in Abuja. According to him, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission traditionally provides the total volume of oil production in the country, and the data presented by the Commission to the Ministry is 1.7 million barrels as opposed to the 1.3 million barrels recorded by OPEC. Lokpobiri, however, emphasized the importance of Nigeria's continued membership in OPEC, saying that the country has no plan to exit the organization. Instead, he said Nigeria aims to advocate for an increase in its production quota to approximately 2 to 3 million barrels per day. And in Lagos, the Special Advisor on Sustainable Development goes to the Governor, Oluwafemi Awukoya, has highlighted the various initiatives, challenges and collaborative efforts surrounding the Lagos Sustainability Summit. In a press conference, she spoke on critical themes like community engagement, ethical business practices, sustainable finance and environmental protection. Each of these elements is tied back to the broader goal of making Lagos a resilient and sustainable city, according to her. Her speech also emphasized the need for collective action and the importance of partnership, especially in line with the SDG 17 goals.
We will be championing ethical business practices, social impact, by understanding that our economic growth must go hand in hand with our moral and social responsibilities. We will also drive the conversation on sustainable finance, knowing that the investments we make today will determine the Lagos of tomorrow. The Lagos State Office of Sustainable Development Goals, OSDG, spearheads our mission, ensuring that our path to 2030, which is around the corner, leaves no one behind. We are committed to strategic planning, resource mobilization, and rigorous monitoring to build a more equitable, inclusive, and prosperous Lagos.
The carbon registry is supposed to help us document this progress and then get us set for trading of carbon. and which is why we're saying that it is a landmark. It's a landmark thing. It's something that will gain a lot of global traction. We also expect that it will lead the way in terms of what we're able to do in Nigeria, and we're going to set the pace for other states to follow.
We hold something called the bilateral meeting and agreement that happens with every single ministry, department, and agency. So that gives us an opportunity to interface with each and every MDA in Lagos State to say, okay, what is it that you're doing to address sustainability and to contribute towards the overarching goal of Lagos when it comes to sustainability.
The chairman and CEO of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, Abike Dabiri-Arewa, has commended the Nigerians in Diaspora for their substantial contributions to the country's economy, with remittance reaching a remarkable $553 million in July alone. Speaking during a strategic meeting with Lord Mayor of Leeds, Councillor Abigail Masha Katung, at the NIDCOM headquarters in Abuja, Dabiri-Arewa highlighted the critical role that the diaspora community plays in supporting the nation's economic growth. Dabiri-Arewa also expressed deep appreciation for the hard work and dedication of Nigerians abroad, emphasizing that their remittances and investment are making a significant positive impact on the economy. She took the opportunity to celebrate the record-breaking remittance inflow, marking it as the highest ever recorded in a single month.
We are the bridge to the diaspora at home. We provide, let's say we are your embassy in Nigeria, we provide customer service, so to speak, for you, the diaspora. So we have platforms to engage with you, and we're proud of the kind of engagements we're beginning to have. A lot of Nigerians like you are coming home, identifying with home. Gone are the days where you say, oh, I'm not proud to be Nigerian. No, and we will continue to be proudly Nigerian. Nobody will celebrate us but ourselves. So we'll continue to celebrate people like you, work with you, and ensure that we bring the best out of our country. It's not just about the president or the government, about us, the people, you know. And I keep saying Nigerians at home, work with Nigerians in the diaspora. We'll build this great country of ours. I want to count on your experience and knowledge in Leeds. There are younger people here that you can also mentor so that they know that you can achieve anything you want to achieve once you are focused. I know it wasn't easy for you. I know it was tough, but here you are.
If there's anything you would love us to engage with, we are also your representative. No matter where we go, south, east, north, or west, we will always be Nigerians. We only need to open our mouth to speak, and you will know that we are Nigerians.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria FAN considers reduction in landing fees to attract investors to smaller airports. Details of the story after this break.
Get ready for the 8th edition of the Voice of Women Conference and Awards, VAL 2024. Theme, Achieving Women's Inclusion for a Sustainable Nigeria. Mark your calendar for Thursday, 3rd of October 2024, 9 a.m. at the NAV Conference Center, Abuja, Nigeria. And be part of a national dialogue bringing together grassroots and urban women in the quest for inclusion and sustainability in Nigeria. VAL 2024 is more than just a conference, it's a powerful movement. VAL 2024, an initiative of Voice of Women Empowerment Foundation and Women Radio, is where diverse women groups converge to champion inclusive policies and drive national development.
Welcome back. Now a quick recap of our top stories. Justice Olukayode Ariwoola has retired as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, calling for immediate reforms to ease the Supreme Court's workload. During a valedictory section at the Supreme Court in Abuja, he stressed the need to reduce the number of cases reaching the apex court, many of which he believes should be resolved at the appellate level. Emphasized that the right to a fair hearing requires timely adjudication and urged for an increase in judicial officers to address these delays effectively. We also told you that in a bid to ensure efficient allocation of resources and drive national development, the Nigerian government has said that it will prioritize essential agencies and businesses in the 2025 budget. The Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, made this known during a one-day fact-finding tour of the government agencies under the State House, saying that the budget would be based on thorough needs assessment. Now, in case you missed any of the news bulletin or for more updates, you can catch us on Limas World TV and AVO TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery and Apple Store. On Facebook, we're TV360 Online.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the go-to app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Let's now join Victoria Okonde for updates in the world of business. Over to you, Victoria.
Thank you very much, Tammy. Welcome to Business News. Now, the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, says it is considering various incentives and potential concessions to attract investors to smaller airports across the country. The Managing Director of FAN, Olubunmi Kuku, spoke on Wednesday at the ongoing Airport Business Summit and Expo 2024 in Lagos. Kuku said one of the strategies under consideration is the reduction of landing and parking fees at smaller airports. This initiative, according to Kuku, aims to encourage airlines to fly into these airports or use them as their own base, thereby making them more economically and commercially viable. She said the industry needs more investments, stressing that the government cannot provide what will sustain the industry, but can only provide an enabling environment. We'll go on a short break now and be back with stock market reports. It's the fourth trading day of the week and the Nigerian exchange market closed in bearish territory, making it its fourth consecutive day of negative close, dipping by 0.12%. The market capitalization now stands at 54.99 trillion naira. In the aggregate, 121 NGX-listed equities were active, with 22 gainers and 18 losers. Now, on the losing side, Transcorp Hotel PLC led the decline, with its share price falling by 10% to close at 19 naira per share, while followed by Chams PLC. Now, at the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange market, a total of 393 million shares in 8,243 deals, corresponding to a market value of 5.853 billion, were traded. And now, when compared with the previous NGX trading day, which is Wednesday, today's data shows 9% improvement in volume, 19% decline in turnover, and 6% decline in deals. Now, shifting our focus to the global market, Japan's Nikkei ended in the bullish territory, while the US Dow Jones and UK's FTSE both ended in the bearish territory. Now moving over to the foreign exchange market. The Naira dipped against the US dollar, trading at 1,615 Naira on the black market. Meanwhile, the British pound traded at 2,100 Naira and Euro at 1,760 Naira. And that wraps up our business and stock market report. Over to you, Tammy, for the rest of the news.
Thank you, thank you, Victoria, for that update. Now, on the global scene, Kenyan police have offered a cash reward for information leading to the arrest of a suspected serial killer who escaped from Nairobi police cell. Police launched the manhunt on Tuesday after Collins Jumaisi, who is accused of murdering and dismembering dozens of women, broke out of a police station in an upmarket area of the Kenyan capital along with 12 people. 5 officers appeared in court on Wednesday, suspected of aiding Jumaisi's escape and having been freed on a 200,000 Kenyan shillings, despite prosecutors seeking an order to keep them in custody for 14 days. The 33-year-old was arrested last month after the gruesome discovery of a number of mutilated female bodies in a rubbish dump in Mukuru slum area of the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. And on sport, a total of 20 million Naira is up for grabs at this year's edition of the Showtime Bowl Series, scheduled to begin on September 6, 2024 at the Meadows Hall in Lagos. The CEO of Showtime Bowl, Manal Nasir, who confirmed this at a press conference in Lagos, disclosed the top 6 teams will compete in the new season to get a spot in the Showtime Bowl Championship game. Organizers said the new season boasts of a more pragmatic developmental approach to bond with the community, while the general welfare of the players is being addressed. Our correspondent Sydney Okafo has more details in this next report.
12 participating teams are gearing up for this year's edition of the Showtime Flag Football Bowl Series, the second season of the largest co-ed semi-professional flag football league in Nigeria, which was established on July 7, 2023 by Aziza Amida, will be played in a 7-on-7 co-ed format. Organizers say the unprecedented feat will help develop league games in Nigeria and Africa.
You know, just bringing more people in the educational level of stuff, teaching people what is flag football, and that's really important to us, you know. So we want to make sure that we go out into communities. We had the Showtime Streets where we were actually going to where people were to try and get them into the game. But the educational side of things is really important for us. So we have people who kind of may know the game by knowing American football and also rugby, but this is a much more... It's a more, you know, the fact that there are women and men playing together for us is a huge opportunity to really get a better reach out there. So not just in Nigeria, but the rest of Africa and eventually the whole world too. So that's a really huge part for us, is educating the people on what is flag football.
Okay, so for season X, we all saw what it ended up with in December. We had a taste of that in the Community Cup, right, in March. And going into the Showtime Bowl Series XI is going to be nothing short of a spectacle, right? We have more teams now. Before we had 10 teams, now we have 12 teams. So this shows that we're growing as a league, right? So growing as a league means that we have more teams, more people participating in the sport, and then we know that the entertainment factor as well is going to just shoot up 100 times.
The 12 teams will battle for 16 weeks, after which the top 6 teams will advance to the playoff to compete for a place in the championship game, tagged the Showtime Bowl.
So when they're in it now, you can see that the level of competition is just as much. So it's interesting to see, and it's also interesting to have women grow as much as they have in the sport. So yeah, it's just as competitive, it's just as good, if not better. So I always like to say, what a man can do, you know, a woman can do better.
Us being the new kids on the block, I think from the league perspective, or in terms of the people who have been around the game for a while, I'm sure not much is expected of our team, us being the new kids of the block, which kind of gives us more relaxed atmosphere to kind of play our football. But for us, it's mostly talent development and a chance to compete against, you know, the teams that have been there, that are more established.
Organizers say they are also focused on expanding the game beyond Nigeria, with an eye on global interest and the 2027 Olympic Game as the main target. Sydney Okafo, TV 360, Lagos.
And that wraps up our bulletin. See you again next time.